everyone, it's Emma from MSC Makes, and this is a tutorial on how to crochet these mini solid granny squares and how to join them as you go to turn them into a larger project like a blanket or a throw or whatever you like really. To get started you'll need some yarn. I've got lots of leftover 4-ply sock yarn that I've been using to create this. And to go with that I have a 3.5mm hook, but you can use this this pattern with any weight yarn really. Just remember that you'll need to adjust your hook size accordingly. Please note that I am in the UK and therefore I use UK based crochet terminology. This pattern uses UK treble crochets. If you're in the US or if you prefer to use US terminology, you'll know this as a double crochet, but I'll pop all of those details down in the description box down below, and I'll pop timestamps on the screen as well so that you can easily skip forwards or backwards if you need to. Okay, so let's get started. To begin, you'll need to create a slip knot and pop it on your hook. And we're going to begin by chaining 4 and going into our very first chain there with a slip stitch to create our chain circle. If you prefer, you can use a magic circle. This is just the way that I prefer to work. If you find it tricky to find the centre of the chain circle, which if you give it a bit of a wriggle makes it a bit easier, you can try chaining 5 or even 6 and it will make it a little bit clearer for you. And then to get started with round 1 of our square, we're going to chain 4. And this counts as our first stitch plus the corner space. And now we're going to work the first side. Okay, and we're going to do that by working 3 treble crochets together. So to do that, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. So just to repeat that, we yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2 again. And I'll just go through that one last time. Yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. And that has created the first side of our square. And now we need to create the corner space by chaining 2. Do 1 and then 2. And now we just need to create the second side by working another 3 trebles. We do 1 treble, oops, 2 trebles and 3 trebles. That's our first 2 sides. We're going to chain 2 again for our corner space and then work another 3 trebles for side number 3. Sorry, my hook keeps slipping out there. Okay, so there's our 3 sides, and then we're going to chain 2 again for our last corner space, and this last side is going to be a little bit different because we've already got this chain here from the beginning which counts as our first stitch, so we only need to do 2 trebles in this last side. Do 1 treble and 2 trebles, and then we're going to join that with a slip stitch into the 3rd chain. And I always find it easier to count backwards. So here's our first stitch, 2nd stitch and 3rd stitch. And then here is our first chain, or our 4th chain if you're counting from the way that we made them. And then we're going to pop our hook through that 3rd chain there. We're going to slip stitch by pulling through and pulling through again, and I really can't stress enough You want to make these slip stitches as relaxed and loose as you can. Do not pull them tight because it will make it really difficult for you in the next round, because we're going to be working into those. And then just to neaten things up a bit, we're going to slip stitch into that corner space. And then I like to just give this yarn tail from the back a bit of a pull, and you should find that it cinches everything in nicely. And there's the first round of our square. So for our second round, it's easy peasy. We're just going to build upon what we've just done there, and we're going to start in exactly the same way by chaining 4, which again counts as our first stitch plus a chain space. And then we're going to go straight into this first side here, and the way we're going to do this is by working into each one of these 3 trebles with 2 stitches either side. So we're going to increase each side by 4 stitches. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into that corner space, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and we need another stitch in that corner space. So again, we yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2. And now we need to work into the tops of each of these 3 stitches, and just be careful because this first stitch can sometimes get a little bit hidden by the stitch that we've just created. You might have to give them a little bit of a pull to the side. We're going to work into each of those with a UK treble crochet, and then oops, my hooks, and then we need to create another 2 treble crochets on the other side. We'll do 1 and 2, and that's our first side completed. And then we need to chain 2 again for our corner space, and then we're going to do exactly the same. We're going to work 2 treble crochets into the corner space, and then you can kind of see what I mean here now, where that stitch has got a little bit hidden. So if we just pull this to the side, it opens it up, and then we can see where we're popping our hook. We're going to do a treble into each of those stitches, and into that corner space. We're going to chain 2 again, and now we're on to side number 3. So again, we're going to do our 2 trebles into the corner space, a treble into each of those 3 stitches from round 1, and 2 trebles in that corner space, and we're going to chain 2, and now we're ready to work the final side. We're going to chain 2, we're going to do 2 trebles into that corner space. We're going to work a treble into the top of each treble from the first round, and if this is getting in your way, you can simply pop your finger on it and hold it backwards out of the way there. We're going to work into that final treble there, and then we've already got 1 stitch, remember, because our chain counts as a stitch, so we just need to make 1 treble into that corner space, and we're going to pop our hook through the 3rd chain from the bottom, and we're going to slip stitch nice and loosely, and then slip stitch into the corner, and that is our first square. So then I'm just going to cut my yarn. I like to just pull this through to secure it, and that's our first square done. And from now on, each square that we make, we'll be joining as we go, as we make that second round to this square. So I will show you how to do that now. Okay, so here's a square that I started earlier. So I've already completed the first round of my square, and now we're going to work the second round, and as we do that, we're going to join it to our first square. So we're going to start off exactly the same. We're going to chain 4, and we're going to work 2 trebles into that corner space. I always like to complete the first side of a square before I start to join it. I'm going to work a treble into the top of each of those stitches from round number 1. And then we're going to work 2 trebles into that corner space. Okay, and now we're going to chain 1, and we're going to take our hook away, and this is where we want to join it. I want to join it along this side. So I'm going to take this square, the right sides are both facing me, and I'm going to pop my hook from the front to the back. I'm going to grab that loop and pick up my yarn again and just give it a bit of a tighten, and I'm going to pull that loop through, and I'm going to chain 1 to secure it. So we can see that. I'll just move my hook out of the way so you can see that is attached there now. And if you've not used this technique before, it can feel quite fiddly, but you do get into a good rhythm with it once you've started with it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is begin working our next side on this square. So we're going to work our first treble into that space. We're going to pinch the loop here that we've just pulled up and remove our hook, and we're going to find the corresponding stitch on this side, which is here, and you can see this is the top of the stitch. So we're going to pop our hook through there, we're going to grab that loop, and we're just going to pull it through, and then we're going to make our next stitch, which is another treble into that corner space. Again, we're going to take our hook away, we're going to pinch onto that loop to keep it nice and secure, and we're going to find the corresponding stitch here, and this is our second stitch, and here's the top, and we're going to pop our hook through, and we're going to grab it and pull that loop through, and it is that simple. So every time we make a stitch on the square that we're creating, we're going to find the corresponding stitch on the square that we're joining to, pop our hook through, grab the loop and pull it through. So we'll do our next stitch, pull up a loop, pinch it to hold it securely, insert your hook into the corresponding stitch on the other square, grab the loop and pull it through. And we're just going to do that all the way along. So now I'm onto my final 2 stitches. And there we go. Once we've pulled through that final loop, what we're going to do is chain 1 and hold that to secure it again. We're going to find the corner space on this first square, which is here, and we're going to just pull that loop through, and then we're going to chain 1 again, and I find that just makes it look really nice and straight on the edge there. And then we can let go of this square because now we're joined. We've got this beautiful spiral effect going down, and it is really secure. This is how it looks on the back. And we're simply going to carry on working the next side of our square. So I'm quickly going to finish that so I can show you how it looks once it's joined together. I mean, if you preferred, you could hold the squares with the right sides facing away from you so that the join is on the back. I quite like seeing the join, but if you didn't want that, if you prefer it to look flat and more of an invisible join, then you could certainly do that. So I'm just finishing off this last side. Whoops. My final stitch here, and we're going to join that with a slip stitch and slip stitch into our corner again, and then I'm just going to leave that for now. So there's the join, and that's how it looks on the rear side. And just these gaps that you're seeing in the middle, when you sew this ending, you can do so by threading it around the base of these stitches and give it a pull, and it will cinch it in really nicely. So when you join your first squares, you're going to be joining along one side like this. At some point, you'll be wanting to join along two sides. So, for example, your square would want to go here, and it would need to be joined across the top here and down along the side. So that is a little bit different, just a little. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And I've got another square here that I started earlier, and again we're just going to work the first side of our square as normal. And if you need a refresher on that, remember, you can just skip back and look at the chapters on the video and go straight back to that point where I talk through how to work the granny square. Okay. I'll just quickly work this first side. Okay, so we've done all of our stitches along that side. We're going to chain one and pull up a loop, and we're going to join this along this side here. So we're going to pop our hook through the corner space, grab that loop and pull it through, and then chain one to secure it. And then we're going to do exactly the same as before. We're going to work our first stitch and then put our hook through the corresponding stitch on the new square, or I'm sorry, on the square that we're joining to. If you ever have trouble seeing which stitch you should be joining into, I find it really helpful to count backwards. So here's our 7th stitch, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we can see that it's here, because it's not always completely clear. It does become more clear as you do more. We'll do into our 2nd stitch and pull that through, and now we're working into the previous stitches, and each time I'm just pulling up a loop and pinching the yarn to hold it secure like this. I'm popping my hook through there, grabbing that loop back and pulling it through. And we're almost completed this side. This is a really, really great way of using up tiny bits of scraps, because each square uses up such a small amount. Okay, and there's our last stitch. So here's our final stitch on this side. I'm going to pull that through. Like before, I'm going to chain one and I'm going to pull up a loop and I'm going to hold it. instead of popping my hook through this chain space here, I'm actually going to pop it into this corner space here, which is the square that sits to the right. I'm going to grab that and pull it through, and then I'm going to chain 1. And I find that just keeps things looking really neat. And then I'm going to do my first stitch along the next side. I'm going to pop my hook through the corresponding stitch on the second side that we're joining to, and I'm just going to continue. My yarn had just got a bit stuck. I'm just going to continue working my way along and joining the squares together. But I'll just quickly finish that so that I can show you at the end how it looks. Okay, so I've just finished the last stitch there. I'm going to chain 1 and pull up a loop, pop my hook into this corner space, grab that loop and pull it through, and chain 1 to secure it. And then you just need to finish off working that final side. And the brilliant thing about this technique is that you can join the squares in whatever order you prefer. And just to finish off, I'm going to do a slip stitch into that third chain up, and then slip stitch into the corner. And then I can cut my yarn and pull that through. And there we've joined our square along 2 sides. And the brilliant thing about this, like I was saying, is you can join in whatever order you prefer. If you wanted, you could simply crochet 1 long strip like this right across and then begin joining a second row. The way that I'm doing it is by working all along the bottom and then up the sides, so that it's getting bigger each time. But yeah, that's it. I hope you found that tutorial helpful, and yeah, I hope you have fun using up lots of your scrap yarn to make beautiful blankets. Thank you ever so much for watching. I would be really grateful if you would like and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.